Now, once more, thank you for joining this session. We are continuing with our Essential Leadership Skills Series, which is a monthly engagement on topical leadership issues. Our idea behind this session is to broaden our perspective, to learn from each other, and to help us grow along this journey. And today's focus will be focusing on leading with authenticity. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of the topic, we will be engaging with our guest, Danesh Gordon. And during that process, if you do have questions, we ask you to pose your questions in the chat bot. But as we go, maybe I might invite one or two contributions so that we can be able to interact in the process. We are quite malleable, we're quite flexible. Much as I lead the discussion, as I always say, I do not necessarily believe that I'm the authority in the subject. That's why we invite people like Danesh. That's why you have joined us in the session. And probably you have walked the journey, and with your experiences, you can share something that will shape somebody who is on this call tonight. So with that said, let's go ahead and make sure that we use the next 50 minutes productively to dive deeper into this subject. I would like to invite Jackie Maimela, maybe just to introduce our guest this evening.
Thanks, Taki. Let me see if I can get the video going while I introduce Danesh. So Danesh is Dubai-based currently, but is South African-born. He's one of the seasoned global executive. He's got over 20 decades in the consumer packaged goods sector, and he's led markets growth, operational transformation, and governance across South Africa, Southeast Asia, as well as Middle East and North America. He's known for navigating complex markets and building high-performing multicultural teams. And he delivers results through people engagement, strategic vision, and disciplined execution and deep market insight. He's currently the market access consulting and agency representative practice for Africa and Asia. He's the chairperson of Trepidus Technology. He's the independent advisor of Bain and Company and a member of the board of GCC of Director Institute. His last position he was at Godrich, managing Africa, Middle East, and North America. And then prior to then, he was at the Nestle Group, which is where myself and him and Botaki crossed our paths at Nestle. And then prior to then, he was in the printing and textile industry, and he's a teacher originally, and he's also a marketing and business lecturer. So Danesh, welcome, and we're honored to have you on this panel today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Botaki. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danesh. Thank you, Jackie, for that profile. I did not realize, Danesh, that you traversed the route as a teacher, because that's where actually I started. But I realized 18 months into the role that I seem to know everything that I teach the students. This is not going to change. But then I continued on a teaching trajectory, but probably in a different way. So, no, what a remarkable profile. Also that we have cross paths in Nestle as well. And Danesh, maybe for us to start the discussion, maybe take us through your journey. Yes, Jackie has given us your profile, but there is a person behind the roles that you have held in your life journey. But who is Danesh? Where are you coming from? And how did you find yourself in Dubai?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I was born in a place called Stanger, which is in the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal. I grew up in Durban, spent most of my young days there, I taught in public schools. Umlazi Commercial High School was my the main school before I left the teaching profession. I also taught in a place called Greytown. So I've done all of these things. Probably the best way to describe it, none of it was planned.
Mm,
Uh, by some kind of like, accidental next moves. I think probably the thing that I would describe myself is just being inquisitive, being restless. I always want to do something different and something a change. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is you get amazing experiences,
mm,
um, but so that's how I got. In 2013, I was appointed as the CEO of Nestle in Nigeria. So I spent 4 years living in Lagos. And the Nestle business in Nigeria listed on the stock exchange. It's a sizable business.
mm.
When I left, we were already doing nearly $900 million turnover, so we did very well. But I think the reward for my success was not going back home, which is what I had requested the company to do. They sent me to Indonesia, which is also a sizable business. It's the fourth largest population in the world. It's a sizable business, over $1 billion turnover. Um, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very different perspective, very different cultural perspective. But again, I like meeting people. I
Mm.
like getting on a motorcycle and going into the markets. I will go into villages and figure this thing out. In Nigeria, I didn't have that chance because the security wouldn't allow me.
Okay.
But I definitely did that in Indonesia. I actually bought myself a motorcycle in Indonesia, and I used to spend a lot of time on the weekends going around on a Vespa. So, uh, and then I got offered this job, which, in a way, with the promise. Firstly, it was to take over a business I didn't understand. I was leaving Nestle, which is a company I absolutely love. The values of the company, uh, its global presence, its opportunity for career enhancement, all of these
Yeah.
things, they were ticking the box. What it didn't tick was you reach a stage where things are too comfortable
Mm, mm.
and you want to start again. So in a way, I wanted to be part of a startup, but with enough resources. So, and the main reason I took the job is they had a challenge, and the challenge was the Africa business. They had made acquisitions across from West Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa, which is mainly South Africa and Mozambique. They had made acquisitions, and things were not going well. And I was approached and said, "Look, would you like to join us?" And I don't know who they were. I tried to understand their business, but I liked the idea of turning around something. So, and the key thing for me was coming back home. And I
Yes.
know it sounds, people say this all the time, but heading a business that covers the continent of Africa, not just a single country, was a dream that I would have had. I wish I could have done it for a Nestle, but this gave me that opportunity. It also gave me the time to spend much more time in South Africa, for example. However, because the regional head office is based in Dubai, so for that reason, with the team, all those reasons, I had to be based in Dubai. And but I spent the first 7, 8 months in South Africa because I started on the 1st of April 20. Luck. I joined a new organization with very different categories.
Mm,
From beauty and wellness, coming to what I'd come from is food and beverage. It's a
yes.
very different mindset, but I knew consumers, I know people. So and during COVID, I was obviously in lockdown in South Africa. It gave me the time to, after many years, I think first time after 9 years, I spent more than a month at a time in South Africa because when you get on this global career, you always you get told where you're going to go.
Yeah.
It's not like you have this. It's kind of a hint. It's
Yeah.
kind of not too many choices. So yeah, that's the history. I'm trying to give you a broader picture. Who I am, uh, I try to describe this by I'm inquisitive. I didn't plan. I wasn't very smart in school, and I don't think I was very smart at university. So I did a Bachelor of Arts degree first. I love English literature. I studied political science, English literature, and it kind of puts you in a nice place to go. And history and English and anthropology were my three majors.
Wow.
So that's how you evolve to become a teacher, which to me is still the best profession. I wish, and it's the thing that is least valued, in a corporate in the world, but it has such an influence. And I remember clearly my experiences. And you talk about shaping leaders, what we talk about in corporate, shaping leaders is what happens at schools. And I don't think
Yes.
people get that.
No, so true. No, thanks a lot for that elaborate explanation of your journey and who you are, and acknowledging the important profession which is teaching. So let's get into the nub of it. When you go into Google now, probably if you put in the word leader and the associated adjectives, there would be over 2 million hits that will come. Whether we talk effective leadership, authentic leadership, true leadership, servant leadership, whatever it is. But we just looked around and said, the world, nations, governments, organizations, even as individuals, we are going through this maze called life. And we thought of just looking at this subject of authentic leadership. And maybe let's start with a question. From your own vantage point, from your own perspective, how would you define authentic leadership?
I think the way to best describe it is being real, in a way, being centered on who you are, with the humility that your position is temporary, and that you have a responsibility to guide somebody. You have the responsibility to be a guardian. You have got a responsibility to be an energizer. So it's all of these things. And integrity comes from recognizing that it's not a dictatorial role.
Yeah.
So when you say authentic leadership, it's being a guide, energizer, sometimes a commander, because that's the nature of the role. In other words, driving things forward.
Yeah.
So being part of something that moves forward. And the issue of sustainability is always this issue, is tied up, because authentic leadership is not about achieving my goal that I see in front of me. Or, in corporates, it's always the stress. What is my monthly sales? What's my quarterly? Then you look at, and then if you a public listed company, the what kind of results that you're achieving, and the share price is affected. Everything is short term. If you're going to do that, what happens? There's a what, which is the KPIs that people do, and the how. Right? So what happens is you drive your team in order to achieve these targets that you see in front of you, even if it means disillusioning people, destroying people's careers, even if you yourself, when you know it's not feeling right, it shouldn't be the way to do it, but still do it because you have KPIs to achieve, then you already know you're not being an authentic leader, and you're not being authentic to yourself. So it's not easy to define this, and the reason is it's a combination of responsibility, but having the thing. What is the end goal? The end goal is not now. And I think this word leadership is something that when you're driving things forward, you're taking a team. You are a guardian, and you taking people forward. You're helping people grow, but you're listening to people, but you also have a responsibility that your experience or your skill set may allow you to take differing points of view, but you still move in a certain direction. Only if the direction in which you're moving is right, and the word right means that inside you it's right. It's not something that is false. I give you a practical example. How often people do performance appraisals?
Yes.
It's always the one that it's like you have a meeting with your colleagues and your peers, and you say, person X they're really not a good performer, and you don't want to rate them highly. But when you do the one-on-one with the person, you tell them you're doing an amazing job. I have seen this too many times, and I'm sure many of you see this, where there is what's said at this level is not said that. So actually, the person may be confused because, you know what, I'm not getting promoted, I'm not getting, but my boss directly tells me I'm doing a great job, or that I'm totally aligned and, I'm adding value. So somehow you see this is probably the most obvious way of being not authentic. And you see this happening often.
Yes. And thanks for those examples. I would like to pick up from a few keywords that you have used. Position is temporary, acknowledging that the leadership position is temporary. You are a guardian, you are an energizer. And you also spoke about not focusing only on the now, which, if I may, you allow me to paraphrase, it's about having the finite mind vis-a-vis the infinite mind. Why does it seem to be difficult for people to understand what you have just indicated, just to be a guardian, just to be an energizer, and having this view to say, I'm here to help the cause, to command, to execute for the better good? Where are we losing it? Be it in organizations, be it even in families, being it even in nations, just to be authentic with what we do.
Yeah, I don't want to be a socio-political scientist or I think firstly is the way there's an assumption that society rewards the people who rise up the ranks as fast as they can and buy a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
You see, so this is the problem, number one. Secondly, I can only be promoted if I'm shown to be a leader. And to be a leader, I have to boss people. This word boss is a very crazy word. So I boss people, and the way I boss people is to shout at people.
Yeah.
And to show them that I'm smarter than everybody. So it's somewhere there. I know I can blame business schools, but I think business schools have a role to play in this, right?
Yeah.
But somehow this thing about the boss is there to tell me what I'm doing right and wrong.
Yeah.
And the boss is there to shout to me. I'm using it sound. Then you used, and so you have a team, and you believe that this is the way I should lead them. Guess what happens? People start behaving in that way. The smartest teams are the one who start thinking. I give you a very interesting example, and I'm going to use different cultural contexts, right? If I compare my Nigeria team to my Indonesia team, right? Different societal context. Nigerian team is very much energized. It want to move forward, want to achieve, and it's visible. It's visible. When you land in Lagos, you can feel the energy of Lagos. It's an incredible place with energy. Now, if you go to Jakarta, Indonesia, and I walk into the office for the first time and have a meeting, it's like everyone is quiet and nobody looks you in the eye. So you start, okay, hold on. Now, you can make a mistake by thinking those people are not so smart because they don't say too much. And those people are smart because they talk a lot and they tell you stuff. But when you start getting to people on a personal basis and engaging with them, and you start, what do you think? I mean, when you say somebody to Indonesia as the same person who doesn't say much, but in their mind they have amazing ideas, but they're used to a leader led. Right? So if they know that the boss is somebody who just instructs us, and he believes that this is red in color when it's blue, you just follow him or her. Now suddenly, if you change that methodology, you get credibility, and then you see, and when you say, look, guys, I'm sorry, I messed up. And I give you a very interesting example. We had a product called Bear Brand. It's basically a milk in a can. right? When I first, the marketing team was presenting this thing. Now it's been in the market for a long time. I look at the can, the packaging looked very old. It basically had like a picture of a bear, red, white, and blue. Then they showed me the advertising campaign, and I see there's a dragon going. I'm like, hold on, stop. It's cow's milk, but it's called Bear Brand. You have a bear's picture, but you're showing a dragon on the advertising. This is the stupidest marketing campaign. So that's one reaction. Right. And I promise you, that's what I thought. I said, these guys are confusing the entire marketing mix.
Wow.
And then I just sat there and I asked this guy to explain it to me. Because the reason I asked him to be very fair, I wasn't smart enough to know this, but the reason because when I looked at the numbers, this was an amazing, the product was doing extremely well and growing every year and highly profitable. So I'm trying to figure out, this thing doesn't look right. Everything's wrong with, if you come with a traditional marketing mindset that's come from, say, South Africa, and you go to Indonesia, in your mind, in South Africa, the principles of marketing are different in terms of, so you think something's wrong. And I asked, but why does it work? And they explained to me, the Chinese dragon is a symbolism of power, right? And the product was brought in 25, 30 years ago. So the label don't change, because the minute you change the label, people will not buy it because there's a trust in that can. See, because we have to understand that the people who are purchasing it at a lower end, who will not, they won't, they're not going to mess around or gamble with money buying a new product. So and what they know the brand they know. They trust the brand they trust. And it's the same, like, I can give you examples of Nestle of South Africa days as well. Yes, when I saw my Cremora, I knew what Cremora was, or Ricoffee.
Yes.
So these kind of things, you just know, and there's a level of trust that you bring in from a young days. My grandmother uses, my mother uses, and it's like Clim milk powder. Clim milk powder is a certain brand that has been built up 40, 50 years over time. So it's the same with leadership, that you build this, and then once you engage, believe me, the good other people will talk about, listen, he's prepared to open, he's prepared to listen. And you're not listening because, I mean, to be very honest, I don't have a high tolerance for myself. I probably talk too fast and talk too much, and I don't wait for people to say what, because I kind of know what people are going to say. I have this, it's a very bad thing that you have when somebody says something, or for example, if you're making a presentation to me, after 3 slides, I know where you're going to end the presentation, right? But knowing where to end and stopping, sometimes it's okay to stop the meeting if you're clear why you're stopping the meeting.
Yes.
And so it's not that you're stopping a meeting to bully somebody. It's because the guys, why are we wasting time? We know where the conclusion of this, we know this, but let's challenge it in another way. But saying that as the next thing gives you that authenticity. It's not about, it's not about being a cool, nice guy. It's not about being philosophical about everything. It's actually being the tough guy, but be consistent on the issue you're tough about.
Wow.
Because this is the problem. It's sometimes but hold on. Yesterday, he said that he doesn't like white. Today, he's saying he doesn't like yellow. If you is it the same thing or not the same? So it creates confusion, and confusion amongst your team makes you not authentic that you hope to be. So I think being consistent on, and I'm sorry, I'm using the yellow and white, but it's probably too simplistic, but it's saying that there are certain things that you believe that the organization should be doing, not doing, the sustainability, but, being consistent on direction is important. It also, you have to have agility. I mean, this is the way of the world, resilience, agility, changing. But if you don't explain why you're changing course, I'm going to drive from Durban to Johannesburg and I'm taking this road. And if you change Tell the people in the car, why are you changing? But not telling the people in the car why you're changing and say, look, you guys, you listen to the radio or fall asleep, I'm driving. I don't need to explain. That is the problem.
That's so super. And just maybe to paraphrase of what you were saying, I think with your example about Indonesia and Nigeria, it's also authenticity is also about understanding the context within which you operate and not even coming with preconceived ideas, meaning be the learner and not the knower in that particular situation, right? And which I think leads me to another thing which you touched. It's about what you said about pursuing goals and the organizational context. Then how do we take these experiences? How do we balance being authentic and organizational expectations? Because there's a number that needs to be achieved here. Numbers are realistic, right? Much as in our mindset, we know that we need to be infinite about them. But then how do we remain authentic and then at the same time pursue these numbers, or rather any other expectation that the organization will say, I need this to be achieved?
Look, firstly, KPIs and targets will always be there. And generally, you never like the targets. It's not gonna happen. Everybody, every year people go through this crazy exercise of debating the targets, right? So in a way, the best thing to do is understand that this is what the targets are. But I go back to this thing of what and how. You now have to decide that you're going to get the targets, you're going to achieve something by destroying tomorrow, but you're achieving it today.
Yes.
Or you're going to do your very best to achieve it today with the alignment and principles and with the integrity that the values of this organization are. Because it's easy. If there's a part of me always says I'm a teacher, but I'm also a sales guy, right? If you want me to achieve a sales target, believe me, you give me any target, I can achieve it. But what happens after that? There will be monies outstanding. There will be a mess. You understand?
Yep.
It's like I can even go and tell customers, can you take extra stock from me this month because I want to get my bonus. And the next 6 months that does very badly, as long as it's after the financial year, I don't care. You see, that's the problem where integrity comes in. But integrity is also one of the elements of being an authentic leader. So, and it's the same because remember if you don't practice this, your team will also see that, okay, hold on. So it's okay to do stuff that nobody wants to talk about. And it's the stuff that nobody wants to talk about that starts building a negative culture in organization.
Now, Jackie, maybe before I will ask you to check the comments and maybe to invite any question from the people who have joined on the call. Now, Danesh, as you're speaking about modeling it to the team, the culture aspect, are you saying or do you believe that authentic leadership can be taught?
Yeah, it's probably saying that can good family values be taught? Yes. It's the same thing. I believe it. It's taught by showing. It's not taught by putting it on a textbook and giving a classroom lesson on it. You can talk about the principles of it, yes, but it's taught by practice. It's the same like the way you build values in any family. It's the same thing. It's no different where you bring up your kids in a certain way. So I think it can be taught in that way. And taught is mainly, I suppose, the way you behave and the way you clear your expectation of how you want the team to be. And it is and you get it wrong. I mean, and also, what authenticity is telling people, I'm sorry I messed up.
Yeah.
But not admitting that you messed up. Because look, the greatest of leaders mess up. But just saying, look, I'm really sorry. something. And you could become stubborn in the beginning and say, okay, hold on, okay, you know what, I messed up. I should have done something in a different way. That gives you much more credibility than being always right. I don't think being always right gives you credibility. It's more that.
Wow. And I see there are two comments that are coming through. Let me just pause there and ask this question before I can go to the comments. And I know that I had asked Jackie to come in there. Now, you mentioned that you referred to the word tough at some point. You mentioned command and stuff, and authenticity being be yourself. At the risk of asking a leading question, sometimes I see people confusing be yourself in a sense of talking my mind at any time when I want to talk and standing within my values. Can you reconcile those two for me, if I'm clear to you?
Yeah, I'm trying. I think what you mean is that if it's in my nature to be belligerent, or it's in my nature to
got me.
not let other people speak,
Yeah.
then you being authentic by showing people who you are. But then somebody like you maybe shouldn't be leading teams.
Correct. Yeah.
Somebody like you should be designing the next AI model, but sitting in a room all by yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
So it brings in the concept of authenticity, of empathy into the discussion. It also brings an element of relationship management, but also an element of self-management or self-regulation, if you like, into the whole mix. I hope you'll agree with me.
Exactly.
Great. Jackie, over to you.
Sure, Butaki. There's two comments here, one from Figile. How do we achieve authenticity in a culture so overlaid with what is now regarded as a lack of psychological safety in organization? In other ways, how safe is it to be authentic in the modern workplace? That's the first one. And then the other one is not a question, is more of a comment from Ngebegazi. Being tough but still respected to individuals and not breaking their souls is my view. That's that, yeah. But yeah, we can then address the
So
question.
maybe I go back to just the issue of society. I definitely think that my advice is go find an organization that will value you. It's simple. And I think we need more organizations to be doing this, right? It's partly, sometimes it's about the evolution of companies, cultures, even the state of a country as one. But I don't believe that there are places which are, so, just for me to understand in a very simplistic way, if you believe that this culture of the organization you are in now only values somebody who says that I can only go up if you go down.
Uh-huh.
And if that is the place that's making you feel anxiety, it's making you unhappy, that you just wait to run home. You never, there's nobody, you just never, it doesn't stress all the time. It's so easy for me to say this now, and I've been there. I've I've experienced this myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the place that you want to be, but you have a role to influence it as well. And I think this is where I go back, and I've seen in the same organization, there is that this department has an amazing vibe. It has an amazing team spirit. There's something, and then in my department is not the same. You always wonder, right?
Yeah.
And how come the department has more fun than us? I'm using the word fun, but they're achieving their targets. Why? It's probably got to do with this, that within the, you cannot achieve anything without people. I'm sorry, even with AI and all this stuff that we can talk about, and I can talk about it for hours. But it is people make a difference. People do make. It's not strategy. Anybody can. I can give you a strategy on anything, even a subject I have no clue about. If you ask me, I don't know what, something about jet fuel engineering, in 5 minutes I'll give you a strategy, even if I don't know the subject. But strategy is not the thing that makes a difference. Is the people. And what about the people? It's the people who are willing to have each other's back and to work together to achieve something, um, share ideas, because that's what makes this team strong. But I understand the question and where it's coming from, and I see this. But you ask me if it's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. But only you see, everybody has to live it, right?
Yeah. Now,
Everybody
great.
has to try to live it.
Jackie, I saw the corner of the screen, I think, question coming from Douglas about ethical leadership and authentic leadership. Did I capture that well?
Yes.
The difference, yeah.
Yeah, it's ethical leadership, the same as authentic leadership. And then I think it's ethical leadership, the same as authentic leadership. And then the second question is authentic leadership something that one must be trained for, or just born an authentic leader?
So thank you for the first question. I'll take it first. The answer is it's not the same thing. Being authentic is being yourself. If you are somebody who, like I use the example, leads in a certain way because that's how you are, but you're consistent with their behavior, you're still authentic. But you're not supposed to be a leader. It's a different story.
Yeah.
You see, because it is a different thing. And I always go back to it's a certain, this is who I am, but I know who I am, and I also know I have a responsibility to lead other people. I have a responsibility to make this organization succeed in the future. It must have sustainability in the future, all of those things. So I'm embracing that. Now, what was the second part? Sorry,
ethical.
Yeah. So ethical is really understanding that these are the principles, values, laws, whatever the moral code is of this organization or of myself. Now, of myself, it goes back to authenticity. But let's say this organization values only these principles. So the ethics of that company, if it's is a certain way, and I'm using organizations, but now you have a different stress. It's this ethics of this, the way this company wants to operate is not how I am as an individual. That creates a stress, because then you have a problem as an employee, as a business leader in the organization. So that's a different issue. But I do think they are different things, and it can be the same thing if it is alignment. And I think this issue about alignment, so it's, I don't know what's the right word. Maybe it's a wrong. It's, if you were a soldier, but ethically you shouldn't be killing someone, but you think now that's my job to kill someone. So I don't know what's the fine line. But I do think the authenticity is about consistency of my behavior. This is who I am. And valuing what people are and responding. So that's why I'm saying authentic leadership. It's the two things together. It cannot be one thing only.
Yeah.
And having a responsibility. Now, ethical leadership is being absolutely clear. The governance role in terms of the framework, the rules of engagement are absolutely clear, black and white, and I will not veer off this path. Now you can be that also, but also be not an authentic leader, because you only see the framework. You only see ethical rules, but not somebody who's having pain and going through pain in your team, that you need to sit down and say, look, I understand why you did this wrong. Let me help you to change. Rather, sometimes let's say somebody, I don't know, punches their clock card incorrectly in a factory. And the rules is fired. But if you don't know that person has gone through something, they made a mistake, even if it's 3 in a row. Let's say the rule is 3 in a row. But if you take the time as a leader to find out what the person is going through and say, oh, I think you need a break.
Leading with empathy.
Ethical is related to laws, rules, etc., and morals. With that.
Wow. No, thank you for that. And I think I understand why now organizations like the World Economic Forum and the like are bringing things like ESG frameworks into organizations so that we build sustainability from a moral point of view. Why the UNs have got things like a limit to age. You cannot hire a child that is less than 16 years. Those are appealing to the moral fiber of societies. But both, I want to believe, based on what you said, ethical and authentic leadership, at the end of the day, they are meant to build trust. And one cannot necessarily work against the other. Okay. I see. Are there other comments there, Jackie?
So I just maybe because it's not something I prepared for, but I this thing reflecting once more on Douglas's question was that maybe ethical is predefined rules of engagement. Authentic is being real in time because human beings are. So I think so. Maybe that's another way of looking at it. But it's an interesting thing to dissect a bit more next time.
Yeah. But I think in my view, in my perspective, I really appreciated how you put it forward. Right. Nithal, I think we had already touched on that, but let me just check. In a time where the leadership is evaluated by performance, how have you managed to remain authentic without being as too lenient? I think that's a direct question to you, but you had already touched on it to some extent. I don't know if you want to just give a quick high-level summary on that.
Yeah, the line I used to use, and probably she's heard this before, is somebody has the prerogative to give you a target, but you also have a responsibility to say why it can be done. You do your very best. I think the skill of giving it all to do it, but standing back and say, look, the X, Y, and Z we have done. The entire team is mobilized. We've done our best. We've sweated ourselves over this. We've come up with different. But in the end, you don't achieve it. There is this. Okay, you know what? I'm okay with it. But I think the problem is that's why I used to have this debate with my bosses where some targets were unrealistic, but you have to responsibly say, look, given these factors, these contexts, the targets are not realistic. And then the turnaround is, I don't care, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you shouldn't behave like that with your team. You should tell them, guys, we have this target. I know it's wrong and that's wrong and it's impossible. The GDP of the country is this, the currency, You give me all the macroeconomic factors, the microeconomic factors. Look, we're in this together. Let us put our heads together. Let's mobilize together as a team and move forward and do our best to come close enough. And maybe we'll surprise ourselves by doing it. Or at least we've given it our best shot. Because I think sometimes we stress too much about it. And by stressing about the target that we know from day one is unrealistic and we allow ourselves to do this, we become negative in our own behavior. And then it has an impact on the team. So this is the fine line. There's no absolute correct way for me to explain it, but this is kind of how you got to feel this way through.
Right. So we are about to land this plane, and I would just like to come back to you in terms of your career trajectory. Maybe the question is, during your career, at what point is there a moment, is there an experience where you were challenged in your own worldview to say, The world needs more authenticity from a leadership point of view. Is there such an experience when you reflect that?
Yeah, I mean, from every stage. I mean, from my days as a school teacher, I know the deputy principal had a different way, or so absolutely. But this is in a way you're asking me, are all human beings correct, and are all you? So it's the issue of the challenge of authentic leadership is the challenge of humanity, I suppose. So in a way, it is working at it all the time. Somebody asked the question, are you born? I think it's about learned behavior.
Yeah.
But it's learned by feeling, by seeing, by somebody showing you a way, and you also accepting that this is the way you want to be. Because everybody can't be this. But I don't see. I think the problem is, firstly, when people take a leadership position which they are not ready to take. And I don't mean they don't have the smarts. People are super smart. Everybody has a PhD today. So what? But you are not ready to embrace your real role, which is to be somebody who moves people forward. And the word forward means, forward, not just in a directional, but in terms of intellectually, emotionally, all those things forward. I think this is probably the way to look at it.
Wow. No, thanks, Dan. Thanks a lot, Danesh, for this conversation. And also thank you a lot to the inputs that were put on the chat. But maybe before we do closing remarks, maybe let me just do an open chat and find out if there's anyone who would like to unmute, maybe give your contribution or ask a question, and then we can take your closing remarks. Anyone from the floor, so to say? Fikile, you have unmuted yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danesh, and thank you, Budak, for this presentation. My question is, I don't know if it's a comment, but maybe let me phrase it as a question. My sense is that leadership is taken for granted. It is not regarded as a discipline. Once someone has a firstborn in their family or the uncle everybody goes to, it is assumed that you are a leader. And perhaps therein lies the crisis of leadership. I'd like your comments in that regard. Thank you.
Is there any other person who would like to make another view? I'm just looking at the time.
Yes, Potaki.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, Potaki, and thank you to Danesh as well for sharing his experiences as well. I think from my side, really, organizations are at different phases in their life cycle of organizations. And I think what we have made a biggest mistake is to box people into what authenticity should be in leadership. And that's what is causing the havoc in where we define what a leader should look like, not realizing that at a certain time an organization needs a certain type of a leader. And that's where issues arise, where the type of a leader that is needed in that organization at that point in time is not the right one that is currently there. And that's what causes the confusion. So I think for everybody, you need to be able to understand where you are, what type of a leader you are, and where the organization is at, and whether you are fitting into that particular organization at that point in time. Because we cannot breed. This is not like a breeding where we are breeding leaders, that this is what a leader should look like specifically. Yes, there's certain core values that needs to be there, but honestly, authenticity is allowing leaders to be who they are, and you need to find the space that you fit in.
Okay, thank you. Maybe with those two comments, Figile, in a nutshell, we shouldn't assume leadership just by position. It's like you saying as well that maturity does not come up with age. Because he simply seems to be saying what took us here is not the same that will take us there. So context matters. Danesh, your closing remarks.
Firstly, thank you for the opportunity. It's really exciting. It's like I wish I could come and do this home. One of these days, you guys are going to invite me to do an in-person.
Yeah, definitely. You
And
can fly
look,
us to do that.
No, I want to do it the other way. I don't want to come home. I think it's not. There's no right way immediately. I think it's something you have to practice. You have to learn, but it's all about the way you feel. I think if any of you are in a leadership position, you are responsible for teams. Just take a deep breath and think about your team individually and how you want to be. Because I think it is something you practice. But it is not being, it is not being the nice guy. I think this is the biggest mistake when the people talk. Authentic leaders are someone, hello, how are you? And even when you know things are going wrong, you put a big smile. No, it's laying down the law when things are going wrong. That's an authentic leader as well. So I think we must not misunderstand it, that it's being a nice person leader is not the same as being authentic.
Yeah.
Because it's really important. And look, it's a journey. Absolutely right comment about different phases. You need a different type of leader, but every type of leader can still be authentic. It's like it's in football, right? The captain has decided if I'm 2-0 down, I have to move the team forward. If I'm 6-0 up, I've got to put my defenses. So playing a different strategy, changing the players you bring on, it's the same thing. But whoever's in those roles have to be authentic in that way.
Yeah.
So it's true. But it has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for making me think about things that I never thought about articulating in a certain way. It's been interesting.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Danesh. And thanks a lot to everyone that has come on this platform. We always say that our view is to cultivate personal mastery, self-worth, and leadership in others. And we do that by entering into the conversation, not as knowers, but as people who are coming to learn from each other in the process. We really, really appreciate your time. We really appreciate everyone that is on the call. Just also from our side that we are out there to partner with you in your leadership journey, be it in your organizations, through our flagships program, through our coaching, and look forward to the next engagement as we continue with this essential leadership skills series. Thank you so much, and enjoy your evening.
Butaki, before you go.
Go ahead, Douglas.
So this was my first. I didn't know you've got this leadership series.
Thank you.
So it seems like every time I interact with you, it gets better. I saw you 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, you and Jackie to you as well. I saw you 3 weeks ago at the Rwendo Strat session.
Yeah.
And thanks for inviting me. I would definitely like to be part of this journey as well. So whenever you've got these sessions, please do invite me.
No, we will, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Danesh. Thank you, Butaki.
Thank you.